Here we are, the pre-premiere to part 3. It was a difficult one to get through, and I think they all are. But no, they're not. Actually, they're not. Some are easier than others. This with Joe, was like I said before, it was hard because you know everything in his experience is so different from what we know, and so I had to create a lot of things, and not all of them are as accurate as I'd like them to be. But it's what I could do alone in 4 days. Um, so, but I think you'll find it interesting. We do have a part 4, which is shorter than the other ones, and that will conclude next week. After that, I'm hoping it's Yvonne and I talking about the big mass abduction at the Coronado in San Diego in 1994. If you haven't read her book, it's a good book. It's a long book, but I was Sam in it because I wasn't allowed to use my real name back then because my late wife's wishes. Hot Rod, I did get your email. I'm still getting to my email, but I did read through it and I really appreciate it. And we'll be talking. The script, of course, was finished. Was it yesterday? I guess it was yesterday, and sent out last night, and it was very well received by all the people who will be involved in the production. They all seem to agree that what we need is another Night Stalker X-Files type show. I certainly feel that way. They're always fun. They're always something you look forward to. And in fact, I don't know how many of you know that Chris Carter was highly influenced by the Darren McGavin and the Night Stalker to do X-Files. I mean, he told that to me himself, and I was a big fan of Carl Kolchak. It was a great show. It was really great. In fact, I remember watching the very first one. It was a 2-hour movie, and it was the pilot, and it was about this killer, this serial killer that made murders to make it look like it was a vampire. And then it turns out in the end, he really was a vampire. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And, we have this, you can see where the motivation for Mulder's character came from Carl Kolchak. And we have very much the same situation because we have a newspaper reporter who is local to the Ojai area, which we live nearby and have a lot of access to for shooting in that town. We've got a lot of favors and things we can do, so we can actually do this pilot. And if it's successful, we'll continue on with it. So we're pretty excited about that. It's a lot to do on top of everything else we're doing, but we are getting help and a lot of people volunteering their time until the funds come in so they can be paid. They're literally volunteering, and I really appreciate that. Because I really think we need another show like this. I need another show like this. So you know what? Mary and I decided we will make it. So how is everyone tonight? Looks like you're all good and fine. This has really become the most amazing support group. It really is an online support group of just incredible people. And we're so blessed to have you and each other, and I really appreciate it. Yes, Jill is very excited about it. She read the script. A lot of you have read the script, and it was, like I said, very well received. I barely remember writing it because in between doing the shows and everything else, I was sneaking in an hour here, an hour there to get the script done in a timely manner. So, Cat Master Trash, you agree? You agree about another X-Files type show? Well, this really is kind of the Night Stalker meets X-Files in a sense. But again, so much of the stories are being based on, and I'm hoping I don't have to be the one to write all of them. I'm writing the second one, are based on things that really happened to people. So yes, it's a fictional show like X-Files, but X-Files was based on real stuff. And so will this show, to give it that flavor that makes it so neat. So me too. Times. Yes, the Ohio Times. Ohio, Ohio Times. I think I found a good John. Oh, you did, huh? So you're going to save the great doctor from having to play that role. That would be, I think that would be good. So we're going to have a much bigger crew this time. An honest to God gaffer, an honest to God sound man. Well, we've always had a sound person, but it's going to be a bigger crew this time. Lots more equipment. Everybody's saying, "I got cameras. I got this. I got that." And these are all professionals, and they're all very excited about what we're doing, which is it's amazing. So anyway, the Night Stalker was a favorite. Yeah, I loved it too. Dum bum bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Vincenzo, he was great. I just loved him. His boss. We'll get to things like that. In the first one, we basically meet the reporter himself, whose name is Xavier, thus Reporter X. It was Mary's idea. Originally, it was John Banner, and it got turned to Xavier Banner. So you're getting to hear this stuff first before the show actually gets done, and we're going to be going into production. Well, we're in production now, essentially, and we will hopefully go into actual shooting production by the end of the month or by the following month. So we tend to move uh, quickly on things we say we're going to do because there's so much talk from people about I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and then this never gets done or it doesn't get done for years and years. We're moving on this. So, Hot Rod, you like The Prisoner. Well, so did I. And it's a huge influence. I'm a huge Patrick McGowan fan. And, as many sports cars as I have owned, and since the time I was in high school till today, I still own a nice sports car. I don't own a Lotus Super 7. That is the car that has eluded me for all these years. And I swear, before I kick the bucket, I'm going to get one. And not a catamaran either. I want a 60s Lotus Super 7 with the Halby twin cam engine into a Weber's. Don't give me no stinking four-cylinder. Well, don't give me the straight Ford engine. I want that dual overhead cam engine. So, like the Fiat has. So, yeah, I love that show. The Prisoner had a lot to say. And oddly enough, it had kind of a sort of a visitor sort of, is there extraterrestrials involved in this show kind of feeling? So, Patrick McGowan was truly amazing. So, yeah, Ohio is amazing. It really is. It really is. It's well, there really was a real Twin Peaks. It's also in California, and I think that's probably where he got the idea from. I think. I don't know. I do like his work a lot. And he some stuff is really out there to such a point that that I don't know. But overall, I really like his work a lot. So, and he made a heck of a John Ford. Amazing, great actor. So, just a great artist. I mean, plus Elephant Man was just beautiful. So, Eraserhead, yeah, Eraserhead, man. Look at these knees. I know he's amazing. He's an amazing guy. I've never met him. I've met and worked with so many people in Hollywood, and I've never run into him ever. I spent time with Timothy Leary and Francis Coppola and all kinds of people like that, and even Andy Warhol. I spent some time with, and oh, you do? Yes, Los Pianos. Never been there. Got T-shirts and things from there that people bring me. But so I've worked with some, really amazing people, but I didn't get to be with David himself, and maybe that'll change someday. Close to Port Hueneme Naval Air Station in Vandenberg. Yeah, yeah. Well, this is where we live. We're right there. In fact, we live right next to the base in Port Hueneme. It's across the street from us, and the studio is here in Ventura. And Ohio is literally 20 minutes from here. Oh, standing for Clark Gable. Frankly, dear, I don't give a damn. No, I do. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist that. Well, we're all having fun tonight. My dad had a Lotus. It's shattered into little pieces of fiberglass when it struck. Well, the Lotus Super 7 is aluminum and metal. It's I had the pleasure of having briefly a Lotus Europa in my rich and famous Hollywood days, and then a friend of mine had one, and we were at the Troubadour, and he was drunk and couldn't drive the car, and he had me drive his car, and he said, please take it up on Mulholland. And then, of course, I know that some of you probably have heard of the famous Mulholland Drive. And did we race there? Yeah, it was crazy and dangerous, and we should never have done it, but we did it. We were young and stupid, and he had me take it up there. I was not drunk, and I took that car through the paces and went up against some 911S and just left them in the dust because, Lotus is an amazingly handling car. And when we got down the other side and onto Barham near, his blood was up. He wanted to drive his car, and he got in it, and I sat reluctantly in the passenger seat, and he lost control of it in front of Barbera. We hit a telephone pole in a parked truck, and there was literally nothing left of that car except the cabin we were sitting in, which we weren't scratched. We were very, very lucky. So I know what you mean about it going into bits. Hemi twist. Oh. Don't really. Oh, so I just want to know if ET or U.S. government or maybe both. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know the difference because I had that. If you watched transcript 551, it seemed to be a mix, or was it? I don't know for sure. I really don't. All I know is it happened, and the evidence was clear, and the physical after effects were clear, and I don't know. If it's just people and, they're wearing masks and they're trying to pretend like I think I could see through that, especially being a monster maker for all the years I did in Hollywood. But then again, I don't know what they're doing to our minds. So maybe they don't even need to wear masks or they can just put it all in our brain. I don't know. It's a bummer that they do stuff like that. But thank you for doing that. I will look forward to getting your story, and maybe after I read it and we read it, we can get a better idea. How about the rest of you? Mary, I know a lot of you don't want to come forward, and I don't blame you. I understand it. We both understand it. But it is cathartic to get your story off your chest, and you don't have to use your real name, and no one's going to see you because Mary reads your story in the podcast. And I love her podcast, and I love the fact that she does that because it's like reading the communion letters again that Ann Strieber and Whitley put together all those years ago. So if you have a story you want to share with us, don't be shy. Yeah, don't be shy. Yeah, don't be shy. And again, we have this. It's not new, but it's the new bell. So if someone contributes to the show's health and well-being, you will hear that bell instead of the really loud one we had before. I know it bothered some of you, so and thank you for contributing as much as you have lately. It's been a big help. Yes. Now, John is bringing up the fact, and he brought this up to me before, that transcript number 551 is still only at 3.1K views. That's a little over 3,000 views. My Mother's Secret is 43,000. Joe Stillwell's in 2 weeks. Part 1 is over 63,000 views. And so there's some question about what's going on there because, I basically spilt my guts about uh, something that was really traumatic for me, that involved our own people and the Greys together. And I went in a lot of detail and did a lot of graphics showing what happened. And I quite expected that, it would at least get 10,000 views or so. But for some reason, it's just sitting there at 3,000 views and not moving. So there's various theories about that. It's the name, it's the thumbnail. Well, I changed the thumbnail recently, and it did help a little bit. I think that's what helped. I don't know. So we went up. It crawled out of 2,500 up to a little over 3,000, but it just sat there again. So, and I don't think I can change the name on it. I don't think that's what it is. And John has his theories, don't you, John? You're going to tell us and share that with us? Ah, Florida man. I see that. Okay. It's more like a YouTube hiding info. They really don't want out. I wonder about that. I mean, they let AJ do Death Patents Volume Number 1, where he basically uh, just blows the lid off of the cover up on zero point energy. It's real. It really exists, and they have killed people to keep it contained. Not to mention the car powered by water and everything else. It really wasn't powered by water, but the water allowed it to create electrolysis, which ran hydrogen, and you could just run the car forever. And they killed a guy because they all tried to get greedy too, and didn't work. So as AJ said, it's better just to you come up with something like that, just dump it on the internet. Just don't try to get rich off it. Just give it to everybody, and then they can't cover it up anymore. They can't bury it away. If several thousand people build the same motor, they're not going to get them all. They can't. It'll spread like wildfire, and eventually, you will be rewarded for what you did. It's not all about money. It's helpful, but really what we want to do is save the planet. And by them containing 0 point energy, we're not helping save the planet at all. Because every one of us could be driving an electric car. We wouldn't have lithium batteries. There wouldn't be any pollution at all, except some from making the car. I mean, they're always going to have some. We wouldn't have lithium batteries, and you wouldn't need coal power plants to charge them. So, the whole green thing is just a big lie, because they want you to buy solar panels and electric cars and stuff because you're going to help the environment. And how handy for them when they're holding on to something like 0 point energy that could free the world of toxins and give us free energy forever. Shame on them. Yeah, cold fusion's great, but you know what? What I learned about 0 point energy and the reality of it, just yeah, it's so simple and it works so well. Now, I would imagine that cold fusion might generate a lot more power overall and very little waste. So it's a good thing too. I mean, if you have 0 point energy and cold fusion, you can have anti-gravity and you can power a craft without using rockets and motors and jet engines and burning. Well, we don't burn kerosene anymore, but we burn some nasty stuff. So, John, what do you think? What do you think about the transcript number 551? Maybe you said so already and I missed it because it's kind of hard to talk and look at those. And thank you too, John B. Phillips for being on our show last night. It was a really great show, and it was a really interesting show and really different from the shows we've done before. John had some hesitation about maybe being on the show. He didn't think maybe it fit in with breaking the silence and its mission, but I told him absolutely it does. Absolutely, it does, and we want to hear it all from everybody. If you have an experience that you think is is too out there, or more so than what you've seen talked about here, there really is no such thing. We want to hear it because if you really experienced it, it's important to share. You're welcome, John. Thank you. Those triangles hovering outside my house last week weren't running on fossil fuel. No, it's shadow banned because they don't want people thinking about their involvement. Really? Really? Wow. Hmm. That would seem to suggest that somebody's paying attention. You know, I would never think they would pay much attention to Mary and I much at all. We're just an older couple, just trying to do nice things and help people and share in all of this with you. And I don't think it's hurting anyone. And I would be really surprised, really, if the shadow government took an interest or is paying attention, or as was said in X Files the other night, which made me crack up, was when Max told Mulder, he said, I didn't think anyone was paying attention. He says, there's somebody always paying attention, Mulder. So who knows? I did record what I saw, what I seen. Sandra, it was amazing. How did you record it? I don't know, John. Maybe it seems to be growing fairly quickly. But Sandra, I have a gentleman in Germany, um, and I don't know if he wants me even sharing his first name, but we haven't talked yet. But he evidently has taken pictures or video of the craft and the beings themselves, and he's reluctant to be too open about it until he speaks with me first. So hopefully we'll be talking tomorrow. I told him he can call. So Sandra, same goes for you. If you have something that's recorded that and you feel safe to share it with us, you can be anonymous. We would like to see it. And I don't care about these people who say, "Oh, well, they won't use their real name, then they don't have any credibility." Um, they complain about people not getting photographs and getting video and that kind of thing, and there's no proof. And then when they do have proof and they don't want to use their real name because they're worried about being stomped on by people who are very bad, they complain about that. You just can't listen to them. But please, if any of you do have recorded data of any kind, recorded audio, video, photographs, please share it with everyone here. I'm not saying to share it with us. We share it with all of us. Um, because as Mary said back, you're not here to listen to us. We're here to listen to you. What did Ann say? My experiences are so bizarre, no one would believe me. That was once the log line for a show that I came up with, but my late wife and I are working on together. It was called Night Work. It was about a radio show host like Art Bell who did shows on this stuff, and it was called Night Work. And we really got to the point of being offered a few $1,000,000 to do it. But I read to the contract, and I held all the cards. And so the contract had some sneaky stuff in there. Things like if it didn't succeed, you'd have to pay us our money back. Um, Everyone was willing to take the gamble, but me. I said, no, 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 no. We're not doing this. And I wasn't very popular with the rest of the group that had worked so hard to try to get this show funded and get a new TV show on and everything. I did not feel safe with that line in the contract, and they wouldn't change it. So got to be really careful with those people. But the log line was, no one will believe you. Yeah, it was pretty neat. We got real close to shooting the pilot. And the difference today with Reporter X is that we hold all the cards and we can get the show done, and we don't need anybody else's money, particularly if we want to go on with a series. Yes, but at least we can get the pilot done. Oh, Mary, you gave out the address. Who was that to? That wasn't Sandra, was it? She hasn't said anything since. So, um, and I get it. No, there never will be. I love that line, and but something is there, and where Jeff is playing me, and he's on a talk show, and he says, I've been told by one scientist even if I had proof, he wouldn't believe me. I wonder if that was the head of the Sterling or the Hayden planetarium. I just found out that Neil didn't like Arrival. He picked it apart. I didn't know that, and I thought Arrival was a really good movie, and it's one of my favorite, alien films in that genre, because it starts off like it's going to be another Independence Day. There's jets flying in the air, and there's these odd objects just hovering, but it goes so deep, and it goes into it. It was just very real, and just the fact at the end about time is not linear. We don't live linear existences. We just think we do. That was just beautiful. Just love that film. Interstellar was great too. That film wasn't well liked either. Uh, Cecily Roy. Well, hello. Have we seen you before, Mary? Have we? Is that Cecily Roy? No, I think. Welcome. Sorry if I didn't catch you last time. And then we have Peaches. I think you're new too. Thank you for being here. I wish I could have thanked Art Bell for the company he provided on late nights and early mornings. Well, I think he knew it, Peaches. I think he knew it, And there'll never be anyone to replace him. And we've got other people and carrying on with the show and stuff. And I know who they all are, and they're good, but there was just something about Art that was like no other. And so I'll tell you, AJ with Y-Files comes close, but he's not a coast to coast radio program, and his greatest influence is Art Bell. So I'm missing something somewhere here. You're welcome, Peaches, and like I said, thank you for being here. So I'm missing something, and you guys are talking to Florida Man, and I'm sorry. It's hard to. Abbott says, "Oops." So we are a support group, and you're all supporting each other. Hell. Oh, okay. Oops. So I sometimes try to convince myself it doesn't happen. Then I watch a video or several, which confirms my experience. It's so hard to be able to talk to friends. Uh, that's it. That's always that way. Everybody has that problem. My whole family, all my friends, almost the. I mean, there was a premiere the other night of a film that I got funded, basically got started back in the late 70s. Okay. And then finally in the 80s or late 80s, the film finally got financed to be made. And I did hominid beings for it and all these things. And then they shot over in Europe, and then the film got stopped. They almost finished it, and then it sat for years and years and years. And then the film finally got finished. They called me once to see if I would um, help repair the old hominid suits that I had made and stuff. And they knew that I was the person behind getting that whole film even project even recognized. And all these famous, and I'm not going to mention any names, but you've seen their work in Star Wars and everything else. All these famous effects people and everyone else whose careers came out of that involvement were invited to the premiere of the Primevals. And I was talking to my good friend Paul Gentry the other night, who also worked on that, and with Dave Allen and that whole crew. And he says, where's Steve? Nobody invited me. And I told him, I said, you know why? Because when the 90s, when I came out about my experiences, they all thought I was nuts and ditched me. And they did. So it happens to everybody. Are you saying that do you mean when you watch other videos of UFOs that are quite convincing, and I know that many of them are not faked? You hear, no matter how good they are, I hear all the time, oh, that's all fake. My kid can do that in Photoshop. Okay, well, that's pretty good if your kid can make videos in Photoshop, because it's for still images. And you hear that all the time. And I see videos all the time, and I can tell which ones are fake and which ones aren't. Keep in mind, I mean, I do visual effects and did visual effects for years for the studios. Judy, thank you so much. So that's really lame. Oh, it's not ringing. There it goes. Thank you, Judy. Thank you for the love. I appreciate that very much. Oh, yes, thank you for that. So did you get videos of your own that you've been reviewing to convince yourself it's actually happening, or were you just talking about other videos, which, yeah, I mean, when you see them, they're really something. I only ever managed to videotape one UFO once, and I did it with Roger Lear, because one of them kept coming back over and over again up in Camarillo, which is not far from here. And that was in the 80s, and I went and got my 90s, and I went and got my Celestron C8 telescope, and that night I fixed a camera to it, a Sony Super 8 camera to it, and actually photographed it. And Whitley's been showing that video for years, and it was really spectacular. And that's probably the only time, but that's because it kept repeating. We could go back and catch it, and evidently it still repeats. So what's your the alien autopsy? The first time I saw it, I knew it was makeup effects. That's what I do for a living. And as it turned out, it was a guy in Canada, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't know what the deal is. But eventually it came out that he faked it. But I know that because another very famous makeup artist, special effects man, who's done amazing films you've seen, his work, he told me off the record that he knew the guy that did it and went in the back room and saw the body. And then later that came out. So I've always thought it was fake. Now there's the one that was allegedly snuck out on the videotape that was snuck out on the wrist of the gentleman from Area 51. Bob Kibiot did with Rocket Video did a show on that went on Fox, and Whitley Strieber and I think Roger, I'm not sure if Roger was there or not. We were asked to come on the show and look at the video. Well, first we were shown the video, and Whitley and I both agreed that it was really disturbing and moving, and maybe it was real. I really couldn't tell 100%. Then we went and did the show, and I said, well, it could be real. But when the show aired, they took out the could, and it had me saying it was real, and Whitley too. And that really didn't sit well with us, because they were editing us to just be in favor that it was real. I still don't know if it was real, but there was one thing in the background in that video that was got Whitley and my attention both, and it was that little green light that's jumping up and down. There was something about that that was so familiar and that we had both seen before. There was a comment made recently on that alien interview video, as they called it, um, is that the torso never moved. I have to go back and look at that because that would be a giveaway, I think. I don't know. But whoever made that puppet did a really good job. They had the skin color right. It had that freckling that Judy described that was kind of like almost octopus skin. The eyes were right. The head was shaped right. There was so much about it that was right. Um, and I found it disturbing because I hated seeing that creature in distress that way. Oh, the alien interview, 19, was that 97? Okay. Yeah. Well, if you go back and watch that show, you'll see Whitley and I in it. So we weren't involved in the alien autopsy. We weren't asked about that one. They really, really wanted us to believe in that one. So yeah, what was that? I think hesitate is that ETs with whom I communicate are family, and I don't want to exploit them or myself as a member of that family. Um, I have never been asked not to do what I'm doing, except by the CIA, which sounds crazy, but there was this CIA guy used to hang out in the MUFON meetings locally here when they were in Camarillo or actually Moore Park. And, the first time I was in the back because I was supposed to speak about my experiences and show my artwork as I used to do in the 90s. And so I'm waiting for the other guest to finish, and he just sort of casually walks up to me and he shows me his ID, and he's very friendly and very charismatic, older gentleman, and told me that I had agreed not to ever speak about this stuff. Now, I have no memory of ever telling anybody I wouldn't speak about. I do remember the visitors themselves when I was smaller, when I was a small child, saying, "Don't talk about this stuff." And I think that was because they knew um, that I'd be considered mentally handicapped or crazy, and they didn't want to see me get locked up and stuck with pins and drugs and things. So that's what I think. That's just my theory. Later on, I don't know. I kept getting threats in the mail, and I wish I had those emails still. And that was back in 1992 or three, right around in there. Maybe it was later. Let me think, because Jeff Rentz looked at the emails, and then so it might have been a little bit later on, and it might have been 96 or somewhere in there. But they were very real, and I even printed them off. But I have moved several times, and I have lost a lot of stuff. And I think they were long gone before the flood, even. But they were real, and they really happened. You just have my word to take for it. If you could talk to Jeff Rentz, he would definitely tell me. And I think I showed him to Yvonne too. So they did see those, and a lot of people just thought that they were fake and somebody was having me on. But they weren't, because later on, because I kept ignoring their wishes, they went on and went to my employers and started messing with them, and that's when things really got ugly. Now, Groucho, Drought. I've heard that too. Whitley's talked about the fact that the fingers, they don't have joints in them, and they bend like snakes, and their arms too. And in fact, if you watch Communion, which I never liked that movie, I just could not stand that film. They did that in the film, but it was really, you know, it just looked bad. It just looked so bad. It just. if you can't do something right, don't show it at all. And I'm guilty of that myself. I really want to be careful when I'm visualizing things that less is more, I think, because you really can't get some of the things we witness uh, the way it really happened. It's really hard to. Yes, Cheetah. I've talked about I've talked about this several times over the years. It's in my book. It's in the movie, but something is there. It's in. I've done several of the episodes on this show. We were up to 18 episodes now, not live streams, but actual films, documentaries on the channel. And more than once, I talk about that. They did. They sent their goons to the motion picture studios, and they told them that. Yeah, I guess that's what they were. That's how they were described to me by the producer who called me and was scared and said, you're in trouble with the law. These guys came in here and said it's not in your best interest to work with me anymore, and that he is in trouble with the law. He's broken the law, and yada yada yada. It was my late wife just freaked out. Peaches, I have had a memory. Oh, not aliens, the government. Yes, I've had. I have a bad memory of alien action from childhood. Quick tapping and slow and off-putting. Wow. Yeah, fiction works good. I mean, I've done that a few times with my films. So to a degree, I mean, the Dream Time was really based on something I experienced where I came to, and I'm sitting in a very odd and alien environment, and there's Adolf Hitler sitting next to me. And when we had an existential conversation that I'll never forget, and so I made a film about it. Okay, Catkins, you go. The Dream Time, yes. Out of the three films, the one that did the best was "But Something Is There," because that one was accurately based on my actual experiences. Only the names were changed. So, Area 51, the Alien Meteorite, Jeff Broadstreet, and Robert. Yeah, but Bob Kiviat was behind that, as I recall. He was an interesting character. It's funny that on YouTube there's not that whole show. There's a lot of shows that Whitley and I did together, Anna Vaughn and Roger Lear and us. We did tons of them back during the '90s, and the Vicki Lawrence show survived. There's a you can find it. You do just search the Vicki Lawrence show with on aliens. You'll see my full size grays, the tall one and the short ones, and the masks all on stage with Jacques Vallée and myself sitting right next to Jacques. And there was an all-star cast up on that stage. And that whole show is on YouTube, which is really something. It's something to look back at. I was like 42 or 43 then, I think. So, boy, we got a fair amount of people here tonight. It's amazing for a pre-show. So, anything else you want to know? We've talked about goons going to the studio and Mill Labs and dark, shadowy figures holding back people from watching some of our shows. What's left, You love The Last Wave. Yeah. That's a very significant Peter Weir film. He did two that were very significant in the same vein, and the other one was Picnic at Hanging Rock, which was an actual abduction case way back when. It's a great film. There's another one that he didn't do. I don't think he did The Shout, but The Shout is amazing. It's another one. And all three of these films are connected with what we're talking about. The Last Wave certainly was. So it's a great movie. I even recreated the Dreamtime stone from it, which I was told was very naughty for me to do, or for some reason. I don't know why, but I just love that stone. So I just bought your book. Thanks for sharing your story. Oh, well, wow. Cheetah, that's thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that book I wrote back in 2017, and it was done just after we finished shooting the film version of it, so which is on the channel. But the book goes into a lot more detail. And there's still things in that book that I have not done a show on, and I've been kind of holding off because I want to get people besides me to come forward and talk on camera. And Mario Woods is doing that very thing, so he's working on that now, and hopefully soon we'll have our friend John Blitch on as well. We're talking about that tonight. We're going to be seeing him in a little while after the show. So excited, Lucy. I'm glad you're excited about it. It's been a really interesting case. Australia. Which movie? Oh, The Last Wave. Yeah, it's an incredible movie. Holds up so well. It always will, because Peter Weir is really a film artist. He's not a Hollywood guy. He makes what I call real movies. Yeah. Wow, 446. So we're getting close to. If I write a book, it'll probably be verbatim. Well, hmm. Of course, there's lots of sightings, Lucy, in Australia. It's Australia. Amazing things have happened there. I hope you do write that book, and of course, you're welcome to share bits and pieces of your story with Mary if you want to remain anonymous, and she will read it on the podcast. Um, Lucy, do you have cats? Well, I love the Aussies, and I always have. So the Kiwis aren't bad either, right? Okay, it's now nearly 10 minutes to the hour, and so we're gonna. Oh, Stephen Greer had been advocating for years to circle back to earlier for the people to release. Oh yes, yeah. Hey, we all are. They have it. They're lying to us. They are lying to us. They have it. They've killed people and covered it up um, because from what I understand about the device itself, it's very small, and most of us, with basic electronic understanding, could build it and power our homes or cars and everything else, and we wouldn't need the Department of Energy and Edison, God, Edison, and all the rest. We wouldn't need them, and that's why they killed people and covered it up. And let's just face it; it's all about money. I hate to end on that note. I'm glad you love the Kiwis. I do too. So anyway, on a positive note, let's all do a little meditation later and hope for peace on this world and more love. And we need to ask for these things, all of us collectively, every chance we get, every day. Who knows? Maybe it'll make a difference. So anyway, you guys, I'm going to go. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And thanks to all the new people who showed up tonight. Uh, and it just, you guys are great. And we're so glad to have you here. Keep coming back, and we'll continue to share our stories and share our experiences with one another, because it really does help. Steele's Oh, Steel Swarm, you bet. Love all of you very, very much, and we'll see you in chat for the premiere.